standing up, please. Yep. You know, you're all comfortable. I want you to grab a partner, someone who's better looking than you. Should be right beside you. Okay, turn the person beside you. I want you to look them in the eye. I want you to say, "You're a champion." Go.
You're a champion.
Turn the person the other side and go, "You're a champion." Go. Turn back the other side and say, "I'm a champion." Go. And the other side, go. I've just come from Queensland a couple of days ago, and I was doing a presentation up there to, like Adam, one of my past students who has built a significantly very successful personal training studio called Olympia. And Olympia is the studio which is designed for people who want to become champions, as here is designed for people who want to become champions. And I get asked a lot to talk about how to become a world champion. And world champion is very relative to your world. It's not about necessarily dominating the world, but it's dominating your world. You're the person who lives in your world. So the challenge is to become a world champion of your world. So tonight, my focus is to help you, give you some clues. My opinions, doesn't mean they're right. No one made me God. Is to get you thinking about your world and how to make it better. Particularly in a world of disease. And there's many diseases, and I'm now 51 years young. And I'm still young compared to a lot, and mature compared to a lot as well. And what I found with my 34 years in the fitness profession and 51 years of life and being what I call a great observer. A great observer. A lot of people live their life being a great judger. Judging others and judging things and judging circumstances, rather than just being observant and taking in the lessons. And what I find now, as you would probably know, the world, even though we are so advanced in so many ways in technology, where life is lived here and you just take a picture and press a button and it's on the other side of the world within milliseconds. And I grew up in New Guinea. I never knew what a TV was until I came to Australia at age 10, where things were a lot simpler. Yet technology may have made things faster, but many times you can probably say they not necessarily have made us happier. I remember doing a holiday to Fiji, and I was, walked through the village, and I was walking down the beach, and there's these young kids, and they had nothing. And they just had these little leaves, and they made them into boats. And they were blowing these boats all around the water. And they were just having the best time ever. Yet they're now, unfortunately, people who are upset because they haven't got the latest iPhone. Yet these kids are just having a ball. So where is happiness? Happiness is in the mind. It's in the ocean of your thoughts. Because ultimately you live your life in the ocean of your thoughts. And there's some things that can contribute to those emotions or those thoughts to make them positive and make them happier. I guess most people in life want to live a happy life. And a big part of that, in my opinion, is your health. Because when you lose your health, you're not necessarily thinking about your wealth. You're not necessarily thinking about the little things that used to irritate you. All you're thinking about is your health. And until you lose it, you don't realise how valuable it is. And unfortunately, a lot of people lose it and it's too late. So tonight is to maybe to give you some clues how to be a champion of your world, be a champion of your health, and you can transfer that into other aspects of your life. How to become a world champion. And I'm going to share with you lots of stuff which I've learned from great mentors I've learned from over my years, and I've been very fortunate to have great mentors to help me and challenge me and kick me in the butt and pat me on the back. Use the lessons I've learned from my fitness profession, my personal life, as well as my sporting life. I've been fortunate that I've taken those lessons and applied them in a lot of areas. And I spend my life helping people. Mostly my vehicle is through health. But the rules of success are very similar depending on how you apply them. I used to run businesses. I used to participate in sport. And I still have great relationships. So let's have a look at what are the things that make up a world champion. And in 3 weeks' time, I'm going over to Hungary to compete in the World Taekwondo Championships. And I'm 8 times world champion in that. But I approached that very differently than when I was a champion when I was 20. And it's a lot more fun now. And that's what wisdom gives you. If you learn from your past. You know, the old saying is some people get older and wiser, and some just get older. So they just become the same as what they were before, but more so. So how to become a world champion in your world? And I'm going to share some common themes which I've learned from champions in business, champions in sport, champions in fitness, champions in life, in their life. And you can learn a lot. You know, I've just watched the Paralympics, and that in itself inspires me more than the Olympics. Because many times they've had, how can you say, more justifiable reasons to give up. You know, some people get that obstacle and they use it as an excuse. And some use it as a reason. And that's not dependent upon what happens to you. That's dependent upon what you do about it. One of my favourite business philosophers by the name of Jim Rohn says it's not what happens to you that matters. It's what you do about what happens to you that changes your future. So no matter what circumstance you're in, and I don't know what circumstance you're in because I don't know you. But whatever circumstance you're in, you still have a decision. You can make it an excuse or you can make it a reason. I've come across many people who use excuses of why they're failing, and other people with the same circumstances make it a reason why they succeed. And that's just your personal choice. I was taught this from a great mentor, a business mentor. He said this, in life is really simple. Life is really simple. And in my opinion, it is. Life is really simple. Life is just a process of decisions. And really when you make a decision, you only have 2 options. You only ever have 2 options in every decision you make. The first option is the easy option. The second option is the better option, or the right option. For example, we're in a fitness facility, and many of you would say, okay, and many of us have been in the situations, right, I'm going to start losing weight, that's it, next Monday. Well, there's a clue. Right? There's a clue. Next Monday, that's it. I'm going to start losing weight. Because there must be something magical about Mondays. Like, does exercise only work if you start on a Monday? Does fat physiology show that fat only starts coming out of the fat cell on Monday morning? See, that doesn't make any sense. So there's a clue. When you delay the right thing to do, then you're automatically conditioning yourself to do the easy thing to do. And I get that a lot when I'm mentoring businesses or mentoring individuals or mentoring athletes. Right? Sometimes they unconsciously or consciously delay it. When really, what's stopping you from doing it this very second? That's like me saying to my partner, wife, husband, whatever it might be, I'm going to change. I know I've been really bad. I know I've been abusive and I've been lazy and I've been a complete arse. But next Monday, I'm going to change. Up until then, I'm going to arsify myself as much as I possibly can. Because what do people do between now and next Monday when they know they're going to go on their diet? Huh? Right up until Sunday night, before you go to sleep, get that last piece of chocolate cake in. Because after that, that's it. Right? Next. So when it comes to decisions, you only have one or two options. You wake up in the morning on Monday and you know you should go for a run. You should. And you wake up in the morning and then you start the debate in your head. Will I or won't I? Right? Look outside, looks like it's raining. Can't run in the rain. I might get a sniffle. I might get a cold. So the easy thing to do is to get up and go for a run or a walk, whatever you promised yourself you're going to do, or stay in bed. What's the easy thing to do? Stay in bed. What's the right thing to do? Get out and do what you say you're going to do. Now, please don't think that that only happens to people who stay in bed. That thought process goes through everyone's mind. Everyone's mind. Will I or won't I? The only difference is the champions still think that. And they still doubt and have a lack of belief and all sorts of stuff. But they do the right thing. And I'm going to give you some clues of maybe some things that will help you do the right thing. Some things you can say to yourself, as I say to myself when I'm preparing for a world title. It's late at night, I've had a big day, and a lot of the time when I travel, I actually have to train in my hotel room. Because you need a gym to train. Well, all I need is a floor. Because this is a gym, it's a mobile gym. And everyone knows there's a floor. You can do push-ups and burpees and squats and lunges. And when it comes to my sport, I can do my fighting skills with just a floor. So, the debate still goes in my head to this day. Will I or won't I? Right? 99% of the time, I would never say 100. I just have things to say to myself that will make me do the right thing. I'm going to share some of those things with you that champions do. So don't think that, they're wired differently or they think differently. They don't think any different at all. It's just at the end result, when they make that decision, they say different things to themselves. That gets them into the championship mode. That other people think, wow, you're so lucky. You must be born that way. They're not. They go through the same emotions as everyone, no matter who you are. And that's not just my opinion, but that's from me researching and studying lots of other champions in many different sports. The greatest, the self-proclaimed greatest athlete, boxer of all time was Muhammad Ali. And he got up there and he says, I'm the greatest. I'm the greatest. And a lot of people think he was arrogant, and he came across as arrogant. But what you don't understand is that he was trying to convince himself he was. So if I say it enough, I will believe it. Why was he saying it? He wasn't saying it to the world, and he understands the marketability of that. But who is he really saying it himself? He's saying it to him. For him to do the right thing. For him. And he admits when he was facing George Foreman in the Rumble in the Jungle, if those who remember it, that George was the most fierce fighter of all time back in those days. And before that, his first fight was Sonny Liston, who they used to call, the Bear. And he used to mouth off. And that was his mojo to get him to not do the easy thing, but do the right thing. And athletes do it all the time. They don't verbalise as much as Muhammad Ali, I guess. But they go through the same process. So you can learn from the champions and apply it into your champion world. So the first part of being a world champion in your world would be as simple as to know where you're going. Knowing what the end result is, what your people call your goals. What are your goals? So what I'm going to get you to do, I want you to, and we're going to limit it to your physical fitness, your health, your well-being. because that's where we are right now. I'm not going to expand that to your career and your relationships and other aspects of your life. But the same questions apply. I want you to visualize the perfect you. Based on you. The perfect you. What would you look like? Now, I don't want you to think, you'd look like a supermodel, right? The perfect version of you. You can say, well, the perfect version of me, I'll be 6'2" and you're only 5'10". Well, that's not going to happen, right? What is the perfect you for you? Where you would look at yourself physically in the mirror, internally how you feel, and you go, wow. Now, I understand that that's going to be different for everyone. When I was 20, the perfect me was buffed, six-pack, right? Now that I'm not 20, I have no interest in a six-pack or having big muscles. There's no interest whatsoever, or being super strong, because that's not important to me now, because I'm in a different phase in my life. For example, when I was working with my father in his life, the perfect him would be fit, healthy, strong, and strong enough and healthy enough and agile enough to work in his garden and play golf. That was his perfect him, which is very different. So everyone's going to be different. So I want you to imagine, what is your number one health and fitness goal for you? Now, I would normally urge people to write it down, because as soon as you write it down, it gets you really thinking about it deep. I want you just to visualize that right now. What would be the perfect you? And you can measure that any way you want. How you feel, how you look, your weight, your clothing size. That's going to be relevant to you. Not what other people expect you to be, but how, because you have to live in your body and your mind 24/7. That's the most important thing. So think about your number one health and fitness goal. Now what I want you to think is, why? What are the reasons you want to achieve that? What are the reasons? Because the why makes you buy into it. You have to have a reason to achieve what you want to achieve. Not just because to show off your body or to, how is it going to change your life? If you lose that weight, increase your strength, increase your energy, combat the disease, whatever it might be the why is because I can play with my grandkids. The why is so I can outrun my grandkids. The why is so I've got a great body that I'm a chick magnet. Whatever. It doesn't matter. It's your goal. It's your why. So why do you want to achieve that? It might be I want to maintain a healthy lifestyle so I can live a long, healthy quality of life. Might be so I want to be high performing in my sport so I can win a championship or a medal. Whatever it might be. Why? Where do you want to achieve it? Where do you want to lose the weight? Where do you want to apply that energy you have? Where do you want to travel to? Where do you want to wear those bikinis if you want to fit into a bikini again? Or fit into your wedding dress again? Or whatever it might be. Where? So get some detail. And when? And the beautiful thing with sport, which you're going to learn a lot from sport, because sport many times replicates life and its lessons. But one of the things is that the good thing with sport is there's always, I'll use an example. In 3 weeks' time, I'll be weighing in at the World Championship. What's going to happen in the next 3 weeks? Am I going to be sleeping in? Am I going to be eating donuts? Am I going to get pissed every night? No, because the closer I get to that D-Day, the more the urgency to be in peak condition, peak fighting condition, peak mental condition to compete. So when you have a timeline, it creates a certain amount of urgency. So when you have a goal without a timeline is not a goal, it's just a dream. It's just a dream. And there are a lot of dreamers in the world. I dream about losing weight, dream about getting healthy. Okay, wait a minute. It might be, and set a day or a time or a date that's meaningful. It might be by Christmas. It might be a school reunion. It might be a birthday. It might be Easter. It might be a set date. It says, by then I'm going to be here. Whatever it might be. And this is why. And that why might be intrinsic, because it makes you feel fulfilled and love you and build your self-esteem. It might be extrinsic. It might be, so all my girlfriends say, you skinny bitch, how'd you lose that weight? Well, it doesn't matter. Whatever gets you rocking and moving. On long term, I want it to be intrinsic, because that's who you are. And I'll cover that in the next step. So when do you want to achieve it? So think about, when do you want to be in that position? Physically, health, mentally, however you measure it. And that's up to you. I want you to imagine that that day has come. You're in that body, you're in that health, you're in that life, you're in that mindset. You're in the perfect you. The perfect you. Doesn't mean perfect compared to anyone else, just you. How does it feel? How does it feel when you feel yourself physically, mentally, visually, emotionally, spiritually? How does it feel to be in that peak condition for you? And think of some words of how that feels. I want you now to imagine between now and then, you haven't taken any action on it. You procrastinated. You've done the easy thing, not the right thing. You've slept in. You haven't done the training. You haven't done the goal setting. You've just let life act on you rather than you act on life. And that time has come and you haven't achieved that goal. You are just you as you are today, but more so. You're just repeating the past. How do you feel now? Well, you haven't achieved it. You haven't moved forward. If anything, you moved backwards. Because you took the easy option rather than the right option. Next question is, if you keep doing what you're doing now and thinking the way you think now and being who you are now, will you achieve that perfect you? Will it just happen by luck? And the answer is it a yes or a no? And if it's a no, that's okay. Right? That's okay. If it's a yes, great. Then look for ways to speed it up. This is what I think about when I go into a World Championship. Have I done everything I possibly can to be in the best position I can be to increase my odds of success? And even if I don't win, I'm a winner. Because even if I don't win, I'm still a 51-year-old fighting 20-year-olds at the World Championship. That's winning to me. I'm just happy to be there. Because I'm fighting seasoned fighters. Most people my age are fighting diabetes. See, I did a chat last week on how to become a world champion even when you lose. As measured by others, but not measured by yourself. Next question. Who can help you achieve that? Who can help you achieve that? When I prepare for World Champs, I have 2 coaches. Because I want to increase my chances of winning. I have 2 coaches, a sparring coach and a master. And I spend time with them and they coach me. And they see what I don't see. Because most of the time I think I'm pretty good. And I go in front of them, they go, what are you doing? Because they see what I don't see. I see my ego, and they see what's real. And they correct me. It's interesting, we just had the Olympics, and the great athlete Usain Bolt won his 3rd gold medal in the 100 and 200 for the 3rd time consecutive. And he's written a book. He's written a book ages ago, which I buy all these books on elite athletes or elite business people to see what goes in their mind. And Usain has a great coach. And the beautiful thing with his coach is even when the first time he broke the 100-metre sprint record, the world record in 100 metres, he ran across the line raising his finger and the world just went crazy. And he came off the track and his coach says, "What are you doing?" He went, "What, coach?" He says, "You took 0.01 of a second off that record by slowing down and raising your hand." And Usain says, "Well, I just won the Olympic gold medal and they broke the world record." He says, "Yeah, but you can get better." And you may say that harsh, but how do you think he won a 3rd? By having a coach like that who sees what he doesn't see. So he doesn't get wrapped up in himself. And that's why it's important to think, who can I have that's going to help me achieve that if I can't do it by myself? And even the great athletes have people to help them. In business, we have mentors and business coaches and all that sort of stuff, as I have had, helped me become successful in my measurement. And success is measured in many different ways. I understand that. We all measure it differently, and neither is right or wrong as long as it's right for you. So who can help you achieve what you want to achieve? And if you're here at EPT, you're going to have trainers at the back here who are helping you achieve that. Right? And ideally you want someone who loves you enough to give you tough love. I have coaches in my life who don't tell me what I want to hear. They share with me what I need to hear. And that's what you want. Your friends will tell you you want to hear, right? A good coach will tell you what you need to hear. And knowing that it comes from a good place because they wish the best upon you is a good place to come from, and you have to accept that. Next question is, what are you prepared to do to achieve that? What are you prepared to do? Now, I'm a firm believer that we all have our own answers. We all have our own answers. We all have the answer within us. We're just not asking ourselves the right questions. So I'll ask you this question, and this is to internally think about it. If you were your own high-performance coach, what would you advise you to do to achieve what you want to achieve? And I reckon you already know the answer. Because we know what not to do. Because I hear it all the time. I shouldn't eat that. I should have done that. I should have done this. So we already know probably 95% of the solution. 95%. So it's not like you need more information. You just got to act on the common sense information that you probably already have. I shared this when I worked with clients when I was a personal trainer. And I asked them, write down 5 things or 3 things that you feel you need to change that's going to help you achieve your goal. And they write them down. They go, sounds right to me. Yeah. And it might be as simple as, eat a bit less, move a bit more, drink some more water, and be a bit more positive. And if you did that every single day, that accumulates. A lot of people think there's this big magical solution that's achieved in one day, or one diet, or one exercise program, rather than just small increments of change over a period of time that's going to change your habits and change your character and change who you are. So think of the 3 things that you should do that you're not doing. And sometimes if they're the 3 things or 4 things it might be, then it might be helpful to get someone like a coach or a personal trainer just to hold you accountable to them. I remember training at one of my early personal training clients when I was young, a long time ago, well over 30 years ago. Her name was Lynn. And she was on the treadmill and I'm standing beside her and we're doing some exercise and we're having a bit of a chat. And it was in an era when no one knew what personal training was. I was one of the first personal trainers in Australia. I started in 1987. And this guy in the gym comes up and he's looking, everyone's looking at us. Because no one's ever seen personal training before. And I'm there, I've got a personal trainer on my back, and I mean, what is that? And everyone's looking at me, and they're looking at her. And this guy comes up, and he says to me, or he says to her, knowing that she's paying me money to stand there beside the treadmill, to talk to her. Now, we did more than that, obviously, but that particular time, he thinks I'm just standing there. And he says this. I always remember it, because her response blew me away. He says to her, uninvited, just intervene our session, says, do you mean that you pay him to stand there and look at you train? And he wasn't saying it in a pleasant way. Her response, and excuse my French, she says, if he wasn't here, I wouldn't be here, so why don't you just fuck off? As she kept walking. Because sometimes you just need someone to hold you accountable to your promises. Because many times people are very happy to break their own promises in private because no one knows. But sometimes I know if I share with my wife a promise, then I better fulfill, right? Because she will never forget. But if I make a promise to me and no one knows about it, it's more easy to break it. So sometimes it's good to have someone who you trust, who has your well-being in sight to hold you accountable. And that's probably one of the most powerful things about a coach or a personal trainer, is that they hold you accountable to show up, to do what's required, that you already know what you should be doing anyway. And they just, tweak it. They just tweak it. So what are you prepared to do? Think of the things. Who's going to help you? I want you to now think, this is a very important one to think about. What has stopped you in the past from achieving it? What obstacles have stopped you in the past, have distracted you, have hijacked it in the past? And think about what are the things that stop you from losing that weight, getting that health, increasing that well-being, whatever it might be. And it's personal. It might be, time or laziness or your kids or family or work or... And one thing I realise when it comes to anyone, there's always an excuse not to, and there's always a reason to. There's always, no matter where you are, there's always, no matter when you are, there's always an excuse not to, and there's always a reason to. If I'm going to go for a run, I can come up with 10 reasons why I shouldn't, and 10 excuses why I shouldn't, and 10 reasons why I should. If you're in a bad relationship, you can come up with 10 excuses why you should stay there, and 10 reasons why you should leave. Right? And the easy thing is to not make any change and use the excuses to justify your actions or thought processes. But champions, they go to the reasons, because they want to improve their quality of life, improve their health, improve their performance, improve their happiness. Not just to, okay, let's just accept what I've got rather than grow what I want. So really a lot of it is up here. Because the training, the exercise, the work, the reading, the discipline, the actions, that's sort of the easy part. The hard part is getting your inner compass towards that way. I've come across many times in my career, in business and life, and so much potential, but unused, because the inside is not wired that way. Yet I come across people who don't have as much talent, but their mind's wired that way, and they become really successful. In my sport of taekwondo, I'm good, but I'm not great. But I win a lot because I do what other people are not prepared to do to win. When I went through school, I wasn't the smartest guy. But if you look at all the kids I went to school with and even university with, I've come out pretty well on top. If you look at measurements of success from business or wealth, whatever it might be, I've come out really on top. And is that because I've got a genius in me? Of course not. And I just think I just do what they're not prepared to do, and I just keep doing it until I succeed. That's all it is. That's the only difference. Because I just think, what's the right thing to do versus what's the easy thing to do? In every aspect of life. whether it be, to be dishonest or honest. Sometimes to dishonest means you lose or you gain. Okay, I find $100 on the floor and I take the 100 to someone left it there, and now I've got a choice. What do I do with that $100? What do most people do? Pocket it. All right? Someone lost it. That's easy, right? My mindset, and I'm only sharing that, I don't deserve that $100. I didn't earn it. I didn't create value for it, and someone else lost it. So if I can't find the owner, then I give it to charity. At least it goes to a good cause. But I only take what I deserve. It's like someone giving me a gold medal. Here you go. I walk along the street and I see a world championship gold medal. Taekwondo. Oh, isn't it fantastic? Look at that. I'll put it around my neck. World champion. Am I? If you found an Olympic gold medal, would you pick it up and put it around and say, I'm now Olympic champion? See, that's no different than finding $1 and keeping it undeserved. There's no difference whatsoever when it comes from the moral aspect of it. So do what the right thing is. And then you'll be right. No matter what happens, you're going to be right in your own mind. And you do the right thing and things will turn out pretty good for you. Right? But don't measure them by external things. Measure them by internal compasses. As Walt Disney says, if you follow your moral compass, you never be led astray. And every decision is an easy decision when you know if you base it on your values. So I don't want to be getting too deep, but really, that's the difference. The exercise thing is easy, but you've got to have the inner reason, the inner why. So what are those obstacles? What are those excuses? And are they still excuses? I remember someone shared with me, says, Kman, because everyone calls me Kman. I know some people call me Kerry, but everyone in the world calls me Kman. That's my nickname. He says, Kman. He says, can you share something with me? He says, what? He says, what's your favourite excuse? I thought that was kind of cool. What's your favourite excuse? Because everyone has a favourite excuse, don't they? I don't have time. Well, that's pathetic. I was talking to a friend, a colleague of mine, one of my students, and he's also a very, he's entering a profession in chiropractic, and he's saying, the time. I said, let me ask you this. And I said, how many people are you looking after per week as a new chiropractor? And he said, probably about 60, 70, 80. And one of the things he says, I just don't have poor time management. I said, well, I have a good friend of mine, wouldn't say a close friend, but more so my wife's friend, who in a week sees 800 people. So you see 80 and you don't have time, and he sees 800 people. 800 people. He's super wealthy, like ridiculously wealthy. He has 13 clinics. You're one chiropractor and you have 80, and you're using the excuse you don't have time. Is that really the truth? And that is not the truth. That's just your favourite excuse. Maybe you should find what they're doing, and I guarantee they're not using that excuse. They're using time as an asset, as a reason to be more productive, to help more people, whatever that might be. So be careful that we tend to really believe our excuses, but your excuse is someone else's reason of why they should be better or achieve their goal. Well, your excuse is why you don't achieve your goal. And that's your decision. Because when you say that's an excuse, the thought processes stop. You don't find any solutions. That's the end of it. That's an excuse. That's it. I'll sit down and do nothing. Versus, I'll use it as a reason. Now you look for solutions of how to achieve what you want to achieve. And what are the solutions to those excuses? Rather than using excuses, find solutions to them. And that's what champions do. They have goals, and they analyse those goals, and they use those goals as empowering targets to empower them towards. So champions have champion goals. They also have a champion mindset. A champion mindset. And a champion mindset many times is what you say to yourself internally. Be very careful what you say to yourself. And we all have doubts, and we all don't necessarily believe But the goal is to overcome those lack of beliefs and overcome those doubts. And I'll share some clues. But first of all, I'll just share some things in my head when I go through things. If I go through a stage where there might be many reasons why I shouldn't train today. And I was sharing with Jared the other day, we're talking about what's it like to be more of a mature athlete. And you have to be more smarter, I suppose, more wiser. And you've got to be more in tune with your body to know when to push and when to back off. Because when you're young, you can just keep pushing, right? But when you get to a bit more mature, there's other things, osteoarthritis, and I've got injuries all over me, and I just have to manoeuvre around there. And I said, I have to, be in tune enough to know where, okay, well, maybe I should have a day off. But I also have to make sure that I can differentiate between having a day off to recover and regenerate versus having a day off just because I'm lazy. Sometimes I have to differentiate that. Says, am I just creating some symptoms because I'm lazy, or am I? So that's a fine line, because as you get older, you seem to have more excuses and get away with it. Right? And be careful, not just because you get older doesn't mean you have the right to create more excuses and get sympathy from people who say, well, you're just old. Right? You're old, right? Many times you use that as the opposite, as why you should do it, because you want to stay healthy and young and active and fit and strong. But mindset of a champion. When you in that stage, and I'm going to get you to think this, and I learned this many years ago. I can't even remember the book I read about it, because I've read lots of books about this. And this book said to me, the challenge that people tend to have when they lose weight is they disempower themselves by following a diet. And that's the worst thing you can possibly do, to go on a diet. We all know that. We all know it doesn't work. You've heard it a million times, but someone comes up with some solution, some diet, someone created, and all of a sudden everyone jumps on board like a sheeple. Right? And they follow it. There's a solution. The challenge you have when you follow blindly on someone else's diet or someone else's exercise program that you don't understand, you don't take ownership of, is that you follow a diet that someone has designed by someone else. And do you lose weight? Of course you do, because all the diets have this similar commonality, which is reducing calories. Right? The big thing now is the anti-carb thing. Right? Don't have carbs. Well, we've been eating carbs for thousands of recorded years of history, and it hasn't been a challenge. And all of a sudden, someone says, and everyone's saying, blaming the carbs. And I've been in this profession for 34 years, and there's always a blame. Right? There's always a blame. Or is this macronutrient, or this micronutrient, or is short in this, or whatever it might be. There's always an excuse. The challenge when you disempower yourself like that is that people will tend to jump on board, follow an outside and external process, lose the weight, and become thin externally. And I use weight as an example. But there's still a fat mind in a thin body, because nothing's changed up here. Because they haven't changed this. They've just followed this. So when you have a fat mind in a thin body, what does the body eventually equal up to be? Fat again. Because the body only follows where the mind will allow it. And if you disempower yourself by just being a victim of this new diet, at the end, which you will break off anyway, eventually the body will equalise back to the mind. So what you have to do is get the mind right. So start thinking like an active. Start thinking, there's an old saying which I learned from a guy called Jim Rohn, be before you are and you will become. Be before you are and you will become. So think of the person that you want to become. Whether it be physically, financially, happily, relationship, everything. And think, that's the person I want to be. And how does that person think? And start thinking that way. Because at that stage when I feel like, okay, should I train, shouldn't I train? And I've got that, we all do it, should I, shouldn't I, should I, shouldn't I? I ask myself one question, which is so easy to answer. I'd say, what would a world champion do? And what do I do then? Train. What would a fit, healthy, happy person do? what would a great partner in a relationship do? What would be a great business person do in this situation? And sometimes you may model that initially off people that you admire who provide role models. I always remember in business, there was a stage where I went from a small facility when I grew a business, and I had to go into I was deciding to go into a bigger facility. So the rent was virtually increasing by 4 times. And obviously when you go from that to that, and you're comfortable in that, and you want to grow, it's like, oh my gosh, 4 times the rent. And I just said, I always remember the day I was walking along with one of my team, and I thought to myself, because one of the people I admire in business, in their approach to business, is Richard Branson. I thought, what would Richard Branson do? And that just said, well, of course I'll do it. Until I became that person where I would do that anyway. So sometimes it's good to use, what would so-and-so do it? What would a world champion do? What would a fit, healthy person do? What would a positive, go-getter do? And think that way, if that's your motivation, which is more positive motivation. And sometimes you can use negative motivation. That's okay. I did that when I ran my first marathon. I've run many marathons. And I was approaching the 30K mark, and I'm not a natural marathon runner, right? But around, if you ever run a marathon, there's times where the pain is that great. Your mind goes, should I keep running or do I walk? Because it's really painful. You go through that. And the reason why I run marathons is because I like to test myself mentally. What do I do under pressure? When the easy thing is to walk and the right thing is to keep plug jogging, which I'll call it. I'm certainly no runner in marathons, but I'll plug jog. So when that time came, and I'm thinking, God, everything's sore, every cell of your body just wants to stop. And around me, people were just stopping and walking. But I knew as soon as I stop, then I'm saying it's okay to stop. And as soon as you say it's okay to stop, you will keep stopping. And my little mojo on my hair was, what would a weak person do now? Now, I didn't technically use the word person. The word person was replaced with a word which I won't use here tonight. What would a weak person do now? A weak person would quit. A weak person would, and that's the thing that just kept me going. Sometimes, in that times of need, you need that clause, that saying, just to push through. I do it when I'm fighting. If I'm fighting someone who's beating the crap out of me, you got 2 things. You can cower away, or you can just go. That's it. I remember I was in one of my world champions in the first round. I pretty much took a beating. I took a beating. I went back and I had my coach there, and I was sitting down there, and he's there, okay, and he'd give me advice. And I stood up and I looked at him and says, okay, excuse the language, fuck it, it's time to fight. And I went out and beat him in the second round, because it's what I said to myself, to click it over, to say, I'm not going to give up, I'm going to fight you, and if you're going to win, Jesus is going to be the fight of your life. And sometimes losing weight, being healthy, fighting whatever you're fighting is a fight of your life. So you have to come up with the things that really push your buttons. They could be positive buttons. What would a world champion do? They could be negative buttons. Means what would a weak person, you replace whatever you want, do now? And that's the person you don't want to be. I share a personal thing with Rory when she was being trained by one of our students. Jerome, his name was. We call him Phoenix. And he asked a great question when he was training her. And he asked this question. He said, Rory, what is your least favourite word? What is your least favourite word? And Rory said, average. Right? Because Rory's a high achiever. She says, I hate average. So while he's training her, while they're doing chin-ups, he was using that word to motivate her. He says, an average person would stop now, Rory. Right? Means that push, but ideally, a great trainer will push your buttons. Right? A great trainer would know your buttons to push, to turn you on, to light the fire. However, when you're not with the trainer, you have to learn how to push your own buttons. Find those buttons. Find the buttons that turn you on. As a world champion finds the buttons that turn them on to seek or to strive for what they want. So the mindset of a world champion. So number one, you have got to have world champion goals, which is your goals. Right? They're achievable. Other people in the world have achieved them. Why not you? You have to have a world championship mindset. And then you've got to have world champion training. Right? And we're going to talk about the physical training tonight. Right? And I understand in a time-starved world, training is many times pushed down the ladder of priority. And what tends to go up the ladder is family, work, recreation, and all the other things. You tend to push the health down. But just remember, all right, when you lose your health, where does that now go? To the top. All right? It goes to the top. You may have lots of wealth, and a lot of people spend their health to attain their wealth. But as soon as you lose your health, you start spending your wealth to get your health back. Right? And it's harder to get back. Like any great relationship. Right? In a personal relationship, you get the relationship and then you put that down, and before you know it, you lost the relationship. And sometimes it's unrepairable because you just neglected it so much. Right? So the things you neglect, you would tend to lose. And health, to me, is the most important thing in life than everything, because even if you haven't got health, then you can't address your family, your career, your life, your recreation, because you haven't got that. And I've seen so many times, even friends of mine who've lost it, and their quality of life just goes down the toilet. So I'm going to talk about, the training around your health. And I know we're in a time-starved life. And I'll use an example. I was in Brisbane, and I was being driven by my taxi driver to my hotel when I'd just come from Brisbane doing some seminars up there with my students. And my taxi driver's name was Amit. He's an Indian. So I'm chatting to Amit and asked him about him. He's come over from India and he's done IT and he's got an Irish girlfriend. And he drives his taxi and he's trying to save up money and all sorts of stuff. And obviously we have a good old chat, and I'm asking him lots of questions. And he says, asked me eventually, what do you do? And I talked about, I help people get out of a job they hate and get into a fitness career they absolutely love. And that's what I do. I get people out of their lazy, rotten jobs and have a career they love, because a career is the big chunk of your life, and you should do what you absolutely love. Otherwise, it's going to affect every aspect of your life. So he realises in the fitness profession, he asked me this great question. He says, so how do you put on muscle? Now, Amit was obviously young, and that was the thing that really he wanted. He wanted to put on muscle. So I asked him why he wanted to put on muscle, and went through the procedure. And I said, so have you tried to put on muscle before? He says, yeah, well, I joined a gym. And I said, how long did that last? He said, about 3 weeks. I got bored, and they weren't really interested, and it's too much, and I got my taxi. And if you know anything about taxi drivers, as you may know, they do a lot of hours, and the last thing they have is time to go to the gym 5 days a week for 2 hours at a time, as advised by their personal trainer, who's about 18 years of age and has all the time in the world, because they do nothing, and their personal trainer, and because they live in the gym, they think everyone else can go and they live in the gym, as I did when I was 18. That's where I lived when I was 18, because I had nothing else on. There's no other things in my life that was really, important. Didn't have a family, I just had me, and the biggest stress in my life was what days I was going to train my legs. That's my biggest stress, right, at 18. Now, it's such a filled life. So I asked him this. I said, Admit, if I had a way where you can achieve, because I asked him, he wanted to put on 10 kilos. If I had a way where you can put on 10 kilos of muscle, and you do it right, safely, effectively, using the latest technology and the latest science, where you can do it, and you can do it as little as once a week for half an hour, would that be something you'd be interested in? I said, yeah. I said, okay. And if it worked, was that something you want to continue with? And would that fit into your life? Because when it comes to training, the last thing, in my opinion, is you want to do is to overtrain or do things that don't work. And I've been doing this for 34 years. And I just see a lot of people's training is very inefficient, ineffective. And they don't last. As they don't last on a diet, they don't last on an exercise program. Because unless you can do it for the rest of your life, it's not going to work. as in the diet. So let me go through some ideas for you which will help you achieve what you want to achieve, but not have to sacrifice your whole life around it. A lot of time people will try to wedge, according to how they think they have to train, they have to wedge their life into the training. Where I'm the opposite. I think you should wedge your training into your life. Training shouldn't take over your life. It's something that adds value to your life. And if you do it well, you don't have to do a lot of it. So let's look at the common, and there's many aspects of training, but I'll use the most common. Number one is cardiovascular training. And I was having a great chat today with Adam, and I was having a little bag session and that, and he came up and he asked me, so, was that a conditioning session you did, or was that a technical session that you did on your training? And I said, that was both. I don't do conditioning, because my technical is my conditioning. Why do I separate it and make it two different things, take out twice the amount of time when I can combine it and save half the time? So even now when I train, I don't do any separate conditioning for my sport. I just do my sport and I model it so I get fit at the same time doing my sport, rather than have to go and do a fitness session. Right? I always look at the efficient, because I, as you, don't have time to waste. We all have commitments, whether it be family or career or personal, whatever it might be. So my role is not how much training you need to do to get the result you want, how little can I do to get the result? And I've always committed that. How little can I do to get the same result? It's going to save me so much time in other aspects of life, which I can grow the other important areas of my life. So when it comes to cardiovascular, and I was brought up in the old thing, when you're looking huffy-puffy, you need to go for long distance pod jogs. You ever seen that? I want you to go for, you see them running around the block. Off they go. Now when I see that now, I see, oh, there's someone just wearing out their joints. Wear them out, wear them out, wear them out. Now if you want to look at function and application to real life, what part of life do you go for a 20-kilometre run or 20-minute run? What part of life do you do that? I want you to think of your life, right? When do you ever have to run more than a minute in your life? How about 30 seconds? Hardly ever. So when it comes to the application of the life, what part of life does a 10-minute run got to do with anything? Except that someone said you should do that. I don't do any running for my sport, even though I compete at the world stage. I don't do any running. Why? Because my sport's not running. It's short and brief. Now, if you were training for a marathon, you would have to do that. I understand that. But if you're not training for a marathon and you just want to get in shape and be fit for your life, why are you running 10, 20, 30, 40 minutes at a time when it has no relevance to your life? Because there's nothing in life that does that. If anything, everything's in short bursts. If maybe you walk across the road and a car comes, whoa, and you get out, right? That's it. How long is that? 4 seconds? But when you do long runs, are they exciting? You wake up in the morning, you go, oh yeah, I can't wait to go for my 30-minute run. Plod jog around. Thinking, and you think, burning calories. Burning calories. Now, I'll use some physiology. Just say 30 minutes. Just say you go for a 30-minute run. Right? 30-minute run. And I'll use some physiology. I'll try to keep it simple. In a 30-minute run, you burn off maybe 300 calories. Right? 300 calories. If you're running at a heart rate of about 70% of maximal heart rate, or what we call 70% of maximal volume of oxygen uptake, which is, comfortable but not too comfortable. Out of that 300 calories, around about 200 calories will come from burning off carbohydrate if you're the average person. If you're an elite athlete, it will be less carbohydrate, more fat. But 200 calories will probably come from carbohydrate, and 100 calories will come from fat. So in that half hour, you burn off 100 calories of fat. If you look at fat, 1 gram of fat contains 9 calories. Therefore, 1 kilogram of fat contains 9,000 calories. So in that run, you burn off 100 calories, when 1 kilogram contains 9,000. calories. So you've literally burned off 1/90th of a kilogram of fat. If you go for a run 3 times a week, it will take you 30 weeks to burn off 1 kilogram of fat. Are you motivated? But what most people do is they run for 30 minutes, burn off 1/90th of a kilogram of fat, and go and eat 60 minutes. They run 5K and eat 10. Because, oh, I've had a good exercise. Oh. Right? What I want you to do is don't think about the calories you burn off. It's not how many calories you burn off that matters. Because if you do the physics on it, it's going to be depressing. Right? It's going to be depressing. It's not how many calories you burn off. The important thing is how you burn those calories off. And what it does, because when you go for what I call a plug jog, you don't really get fitter. Right? You know, people going out for their walks, and that's nice. I don't call that exercise, or I call that recreational walking. And enjoy that. I'm not saying not to do that. But that's not actually creating any physiological change in your body. If you want to turn your body into what I call a fat burning machine, because if you look at Usain Bolt, right? Is he lean? Huh? He's ripped. Or 100-metre sprinters. If you even look at the Olympics, some of the best physiques in the Olympics are sprinters and gymnasts. How much jogging do they do? None. All they do is sprints and strength work. Because when you do short duration, higher intensity, relative to you, I understand that. But if you push that, what we call your anaerobic threshold, that limit, get really puffed in a short period of time, what it does, it changes your physiology, because it forces your physiology to change to the cardiovascular system, because it's applying a controlled stress on it. And the things that change is that you will increase your cardiovascular fitness, you increase what we call your maximum volume of oxygen uptake, it means you get fitter, right? But you don't get fitter by going slower. You get fitter by going faster and shorter, not longer and slower. You don't get fit that way. You just get endurance and wearing out the joints. You want to wear out joints? Just do that repetition, wear out the joint, long distance stuff. Short term, increase the intensity relative to you, and that will improve as you get fitter. Go shorter, go harder relative to you. That gets your heart rate up a lot higher for a shorter period of time. Then you have a rest, catch your breath, then do it again. Catch your breath and do it again. And if you only can do 1 or 2, then stop then. And the next week, make it 3 and make it 4 and fit it into the time schedule you're allowed. But the most important thing is the quality of what you do, not the volume of what you do if you want to turn your body into a fat burning machine. Because not only does it increase your cardiovascular fitness, it does a very important thing. It changes what we call your respiratory quotient. Your respiratory quotient represents what your body uses for energy. Overweight, unfit people are what we call sugar burners. Their body burns sugar or carbohydrate. Elite fit people or fit people burn fat. Because you only got around about 400 grams of carbohydrate your body can store, around 2,000 calories in a normal person. Therefore, as you get fitter, the body back in hunter-gatherer days tends to spare the carbohydrate for when you need it and use the fat. So the fitter you are, the more fat you burn. The beautiful thing is it turns your body, it raises your metabolism, it increases your cardiovascular fitness, and it gets your body to prefer to burn fat, not just during the exercise session. But as you get fitter, you increase your metabolism, increase your fat burning capacity 24/7. Because now what you're doing is you're changing your physiology. And when you change your physiology, it changes it all day long. If you go for a walk, you only burn calories in that walk. After the walk, your body just goes back to where it was. But as you get fitter, the revs of the car increase and it burns off more fat. So when you're training, doing your cardiovascular, it's not about getting through the work. More work doesn't mean more results. It's how you do the work that counts. It's how you do it. And it also models into how we live life. because life is short bursts of energy if we need to use it. And instead of doing a half-hour run, you can get the workout done in as little as 5 to 10 minutes. My average cardiovascular taekwondo session lasts 5 minutes. That's all I do. Maximal 10 if I'm really drilling, trying to get it up. I get a resting heart rate of 55 beats per minute at 51, and I'm fit and I never get tired. Yet I do about 1/10 of the training I used to do when I was 20. Because now I know how to do it, and what I do really works and is really efficient and effective rather than the ineffective, inefficient. And I know you probably heard about the interval training and stuff like that. I'm just trying to explain the concepts behind it and how it works physiologically. So when it comes to cardiovascular, even if Roy puts it beautifully, just try to get your heart rate up for as little as 10 seconds if you're not very fit. 10 seconds is better than nothing, and then they might go to 15 seconds up to. The biggest interval I do personally is 1 minute. That's the tops that I do. Mostly it's around 30 seconds. Because I can really puff myself out in 30 seconds. And then I have 30 seconds off and do another 30 seconds, 30 seconds off, another 30 seconds. So if I only got 5 minutes, I do 5 minutes. And that's my workout for the day. And that's enough for me to not get tired and be fit enough to compete at the highest level. I know my opponents are training for hours and I'm training for minutes, and I beat them. Why? Because they're training for hours the wrong way, I'm training for minutes the best way. So when it comes to cardiovascular or huffy puffy, I'm sure you're already doing that here. Think of when you get on the row or the bike, you don't have to be in there a long time. Just be in there and structure it so you can really get your heart rate up, catch your breath, get your heart up, and that will increase your energy anyway. The next part is your strength, right? Which is your muscles. Your muscles are like the engine under the bonnet of a car. It's probably one of the most important aspects of your body. Tufts University looked at the main contributors that contribute to the aging process, what they call the biomarkers, the aging biomarkers. They list the top 10. The top 2 reasons why people get old: number 1, loss of strength; number 2, loss of muscle. Right? Loss of strength, loss of muscle. Because those things dictate a lot of other things in your body. Bone mineral density, joint stability, joint strength, chances of osteoarthritis. If you increase the muscles and the support structures around your body, you have better posture, you have better joints, you'll be more active, you'll be stronger, and you get less injured. Plus, where's the energy burnt in the body? In the muscle. Where's fat burnt? In the muscle. So if you lose muscle, you're losing capacity for your body to burn fat. Think of it this: when you're after the age of 20, the average person after the age of 20 loses muscle tissue. They lose approximately about 5 pounds per decade. Approximately. Every pound of muscle burns off about 50 calories. So the metabolic rate is reducing by about 250 calories per day for every decade. So as you get older, you find it harder to keep the weight off because your engine size is reducing through probably inactivity, or you're just doing cardiovascular. Because cardiovascular won't stop it. It may slow it down, but it doesn't stop it. So at age 20, you've got this muscles of a jet engine. I remember when I was 20, I can eat whatever I want and I just burn it off. By age 30, you go from a jet engine down to a V8. By 40, you're down to a 6-cylinder. By 50, you're down to a Hyundai Sprint. In the next decade, you're down to a little two-stroke lawnmower. But you're still feeding it like it's a jet engine. And you're wondering why you're putting on weight. Because you're losing the muscle tissue. Not only that, you're losing your cardiovascular fitness because you're doing these long, slow distance walks, which really do nothing for you except to give you a bit of sunshine. And it's better than nothing, don't get me wrong, but it's certainly not going to fight against the aging process. So to fight against the aging process, you've got to do quality cardiovascular, short and brief, safely, progressively. And strength work, you need to maintain your strength work. Now the good news is when it comes to strength work, strength training is like cardiovascular. You do strength work to stimulate physiological change. So when you come in cardiovascular, you can probably get away with 2 good cardiovascular sessions a week. I do about 2. That's all I do. Because that's enough to get me fitter, but those 2, they're quality work, right? And I can psych up for it. Sometimes I might do 3, but mostly 2, sometimes only 1, depending on my week. I do lots of other things anyway, I'm still very active. But strength work, when you load up a muscle to the level of quality that you can, then that muscle needs to recover, regenerate, recuperate, and most of all what we call overcompensate. It needs to be given time to get better, to improve. It's like a callus, you know, if I rub my skin, it wears the skin down, and I need my skin time to form new skin cells to make it a little bit thicker. Then I apply the rub again, a little bit thicker. Well, strength training is like that. The time between, if you do a good quality strength training session, it can take anywhere from 5 to 14 days, depending on how hard you train. Obviously, the harder you train, the more rest you need. On average, when you look at strength training, you only need probably one session a week. One good quality session a week. I only do strength work about once every 2 weeks. That's what I do. And I'm pretty strong. In my last test when I went for my grading, I did 40 chin-ups. I don't know how many people at 51 can do 40 chin-ups, but I pump out 40. How often do I do chin-ups? About once every 2 weeks. So it's all about quality and recovery. Quality and recovery. When you look at your exercise selection, so frequency, one good quality session. How long should the strength training session last? Well, you can probably get done in about 15 minutes. Because if it's quality, how long can you sprint for, by the way? Not very long. How can you lift strength work with quality? Not very long. So remember, you're there to stimulate, not to endure. To stimulate physiological change. So then it comes down to picking the right exercise that are relative to full body movements that relate daily life activities and get the muscles all working together in a compound functional manner. So if I want to train my legs, right, the best way to train my legs is train them the way they function. First of all, I have to be in the upright position because that's how they function. And how do they function? It's not rocket science. Down, up. How good is that? And I overload it. Get some dumbbells, down, up. Well, that's easy. Put the weight up until I get a, now the body goes, whew, better change, right? Or lunges, down. Now when I do those exercises, I work every muscle in my entire body, by the way. Because if I'm not, my body will do this. Right? So all my back, my abdominals, my obliques, everything works to keep my body in that right position when it's under fire, under load, under stress. So how many exercises do you need to do for legs? Simple, one. What is that? Just the one that works the best. Now you can go and add lots of other stuff to it. You know, some people lay on the ground. You know, they see in those exercises, they lay on the ground. What has that got to do with your legs? What are you lifting? The weight of your shoe? Well, that's a load. And how many of them can you do? Thousands. It's not very functional. What part of life do you do that? Walk around the streets like this? Well, what a lot of people think is that, hey, if I do this, I feel burn, and that's fat exploding off my leg. See, exploding off. As you already know, common sense would say there's no such thing as spot reduction. You don't burn fat off where you work. Right? I want you to think of fat, for example, it's like water in a pool. Right? So in a pool you have a deep end and you have a shallow end. And you think to yourself, I'm going to get water out of the deep end. Just the deep end, because that's the problem area. So I'm going to get my bucket, go down to the deep end and start taking water out of the deep end. Does it just come out of the deep end? If I say, what are you doing? I'm just taking water out of the deep end. No, when it comes out of everywhere. So let me share a secret with you, ladies. This is the deep end. Right? Men, this is the deep end. But you can't take it out of the deep end. It comes out all over. Because when you stimulate the body to burn fat, it gets released into the blood system from all the fat cells, and then it gets burned off in the muscle. But it doesn't say, I'm just going to take the fat out of that muscle. You know, because otherwise you could do one leg and not the other leg and end up with a thin leg and a fat leg. They go, oh, check out the person with a thin leg. They did too much on one leg because the other leg's really fat and this side's there. Right? And then it's all get right off here, right? So what do? Yeah, and it gets some off this side. What if you do this side, not that side? You have a thin side and a fat side? Yeah, if that worked, if I had a fat chin, I'd just do this. I've got fat ankles, that's what I do, I just do this. So you can't get fat off, it just comes off all over. The best way to get rid of fat is increase your cardiovascular fitness, change your respiratory quotient through cardiovascular. Increase your metabolism by high intensity cardiovascular work, and do good quality strength work where all your muscles are firing up, because that's going to increase your metabolic rate. If you start losing muscle, your metabolic rate comes down, therefore you're actually going to put on weight irrespective of what you do. So you've got to maintain muscle. So pick compound full body exercises. If I'm looking at my chest, I might do push-ups or dips or bench presses or dumbbell presses, because that's going to work all these muscles. And if I can do my back, I do big pull movements, chin-ups or rows. But then people say, well, I've got to do biceps. But what are you doing there when you're doing this? What muscle fatigues first, your little bicep or your big lat in this compound movement? That fatigues first, so that gets plenty of work. This gets work, that gets work, and so now I have to do this one. All you're doing is adding time and adding reasons or excuses why you can't go to the gym. So if I just did good quality squats or lunges and bench presses or dips or push-ups and chin-ups and rows, or one of them, and do them really, really well, I'm going to train all the muscles in my body the way they're designed to work. Because that's what we call functional training. But you see, people want to really make it complicated because they're trying to sell new concepts to you, like new diets. Yeah? Losing weight's easy. You want a secret to losing weight? Eat less. How's that? Eat less. I'll share you my secret, right? And this is all what I do. Right? Because when I go into a competition, I need to lose weight, depending on my weight category. Right? So I fight under 78, under 73, under 75, or sometimes even go all the way down to 70. I just pick the weight and I'll come down to it. What do I change in my eating? Nothing. I keep loving my wine, loving my bourbon. I still eat all my bread. My favourite food is bread. I don't change anything. The only thing I change is my serving size. That is as simple as it is. So I just eat all the things I love. I have a Magnum bar at night, and I have a bit of a wine, and I have my food. But most of the food is, things I love and healthy. And then I still have my treats, but I just have, instead of having maybe 8 slices of bread, I bring it down to 4 slices of bread. Instead of having 2 wines, I bring it down to 1 wine. I never give up the wine. I live in New Zealand, the best wine in the world, and I'm not going to give up wine. Imagine that, giving up wine. Goodness me, it's not worth it. So nothing actually changes. But everyone thinks you've got to give up carb or you've got to eat at certain times of the day. I don't change absolutely nothing. Therefore, I just eat smaller servings, and the weight just comes off. Why? Because if I decrease servings, I decrease calories, and the weight comes off. All these other tricky ways of doing it, and they give fancy names to it, they all reduce calories, but they reduce in the way by changing your eating, the way you don't even like to do it, and you have to give up the things you love and start eating the things you don't love, and then eventually you resent it and you rebel and put the weight back on. That's what happens. It's just serving sizes. It's just serving sizes. Simple as that. I remember Sugar Ray Leonard, my favourite boxer. When he goes into training camp, he's won 6 world boxing championships in the 80s. He's one of the greatest boxers of all time. He's like the mini Muhammad Ali. He says, many times people ask me, what do I eat to get down to weight? He says, I eat whatever I always eat, but I just reduce it. He says, my favourite food is my mama's deep fried chicken. Instead of having a big bowl, I have a small bowl. See? So he doesn't sacrifice, he just moderates. Life's too short to sacrifice, just moderate. So there's my secret. So when it comes to strength training, just do less, but do it better. When you do cardio, just do less and do it better. And if you've got nothing else to do in your life, you want to spend all your day exercising, that's your choice. But if you don't have the time, don't use the time as an excuse. Because you always come in here and grab one of the trainers and they'll take you through a half-hour good quality workout, they'll get your cardiovascular up, they build your muscle, and that's your servicing of the engine for the week. Then you modify your life around how being active and eating healthy and eating the things you love, but just moderate the amounts, and you can achieve what you want to achieve. You can have your cake and eat it too, It's just how much you eat and how much you keep. That's all it is. So when it comes to strength, do your compound-based exercise and don't get wrapped up in what I call all the fluffy exercises. All the little exercises. These things? And they're promoted because they're easy to promote. I'll tone up my abs. If I was in the gym and you saw me in the corner, And I'm in the corner doing this with nothing in my hand but just doing this. You'd wonder what I'm doing. Put a serious face on too. And if you're courageous enough to come up to someone who's doing that, because it looks a bit weird, you may say, what are you doing? Toning up my triceps, getting rid of the fat. You say, you're an idiot. What's the difference between that and doing this? Or this? Or this? I've done my tricep, now I've got to do my quadricep. That's just crazy. But because it's in an emotional site for us, we believe. We believe. Oh, I can feel the burn. You feel the burn? You feel the burn, don't you? And you think, that's exploding fat cells. What that burn is a small muscle doing a little isometric contraction, working anaerobically, using glycogen as a source of energy, breaking that down to use the energy with the byproduct of lactic acid that's building up in your muscle that creates a burning sensation. What it means is you're not burning fat and you're not even building muscle. If you do this long enough, you get a burn too. If you want to burn off fat off your chin, you eventually get a burn. I feel it. Yeah, I feel it. You feel what you believe. Right? So my suggestion, and it saddens me when I see people spending a lot of time on, like I'll put it in a nice way, completely useless exercises, right? So I'm being nice, but do nothing, but just move air molecules around the room. But don't physiologically change your muscle, get you stronger, change your cardiovascular fitness. They're just a little, but they're easy, right? Right? It's easy. For squats, oh, they're hard. But that's why they work. But you can do the hard exercise, but you don't have to do a lot of them. How many sets do you need to do? Just one good set. And next time you do it next week, try to better the previous set. Try to do more reps and more weight. And the next week, do more reps and more weight, up into the weight and the strength that will service your life. And once you've got to that level, maintain it. And then you can maintain it with the rest of your life. Myself, in strength work, I don't want to get any stronger. I don't need to be any stronger to do what I want to do. I'm plenty strong. So when I train, I just train to keep the muscle I've got. And if I can stay in the shape I am to when I'm 70, then I'm going to be pretty damn good. But I do know one thing. If I stop, I'll be a different 70. It will just go down. How many repetitions should you do? Easy thing, as many as you can. +1. Right? It's a nicer thing. I do as many as I can, +1. But many times that +1 comes with someone whispering in your ear, isn't it? And that's where a great trainer comes into place. If you have a trainer, you have someone to be held accountable to. I go to my 2 coaches and I know they're there because guess where I have to be? There. And they push me. So when I want to stop, they say, you can do more than that. And guess what? I believe them. And that pushes me to that another level of success. So if you are self-motivated, self-driven, and have a history of always doing the right thing, not the easy thing, then you can do it yourself. But if you're not that person, then it's good to get someone who will hold you accountable to your own promises that you make to yourself, and they'll ask, how's that going, how's that going? And when you're training, they'll make sure you do the safe exercises effectively so you don't try to cheat or hurt yourself, which is many times I see people doing exercise that hurt themselves, and that's where a good trainer will make sure that, hey, we're going to make sure that you do it safely because you have to keep those joints for the rest of your life. Where you keep good form and good technique. And when you got that, then they'll say, okay, I think you can do another one. And there's that one past what you think you can do many times makes the physiological change. You know, when I'm stretching, the same thing applies. I can get to there, but if I can just push a little bit more, then that's going to benefit me because that's where the results are. The results are everything you do after that time when you want to give up. And sometimes that's where you need that little encouraging whisper in the ear from a trainer to say, you can do that. I believe in you. And then you believe in you and you actually do it. You go, wow, and that's a great sense of satisfaction. So there's another principle called the KISS principle. Have you heard that before? You have heard us keep it simple, stupid, right? I like to adapt it. Keep it simple and short. Because life is busy. Life is busy. So make sure everything you do is quality, not quantity. So what you do from here is up to you. It's no skin off my nose, but you're the one who has to live in the ocean of your thoughts, in the ocean of those things that you should do. Just turn your shoulds into do's. And Brian Tracy, one of my business coaches in the past, has shared with me, success is really easy, no matter what it applies to, whether it be business, life, or health and fitness. And I keep it really simple for you. This is how you become successful and how you measure it. You ready for this? This is genius. Do what you say you're going to do. And if you've done everything you said you're going to do up to this time in your life, I reckon your life will be very different. But the beautiful thing is, today is the first day of the rest of your life. And I'll share the rule of one to finish off. The rule of one is this. Everything is changed in one. It's not hard. You're only one healthy meal away from eating healthy. Your next meal can dictate your eating. You're only one action away from being active. You're only one positive thought from being a positive person. You're only one step away from changing the direction in your life. It's not where you are that counts. The most important thing is where you're going. Where you're going in your financial life. Where you're going in your personal life. Where you're going in your relationship. Where you're going in your career. Where you're going in your health. And make sure that all of them are going in the right direction. And then many times if they're going in the right direction, it's easily changed with the rule of one. If your relationship's not good, go home and be nice to your partner. One moment changes things, and you can keep doing that, and it will create a habit. And your habits will change your character, and your character will change your destiny. If I have 5 tennis balls and I decide to hit 5, how many tennis balls do I have left? I still have 5, because I've only decided to hit the balls. A lot of people decide, right, that decision, but you have to act on that decision, whether you do the easy thing or the right thing. How you apply that? You're in a fantastic personal training studio with great trainers. That means that, hey, I'm going to get a trainer to hold me accountable, to get that extra 1 rep, take that extra 1 change in my life, have that extra 1 healthy meal, and that's going to be the start of the rest of your life. If you apply that to outside this gym to other aspects of your life, then that's a good thing too. So thank you for giving up your time, because time is the most valuable thing in the world. You can get more money, but you can't get more time. For you to be here means you sacrifice your time. I truly appreciate that, because that time you can't get back. And this time you've given up or sacrificed is only as valuable as what you do after here. And the longer the gap between the thought and the action, the less likely there's going to take action. So if you decided, I'm going to do this, right, and you say, look, I'm going to wait till tomorrow morning, or I'm going to wait till next Monday, then you know the longer you wait, the less likely it's going to happen. So when's the best time to do something? The best time to do something is back when you first thought about it. The second best time to do something is when? Now. The worst time to do something is later. Thank you very much for sharing your night with me, and I look forward to seeing your future success.